Sure. Like the face of a sunflower?
Where are the spirals?
You see this math everywhere.
Welcome back to the Gnostic Informant, and you're about to attain true gnosis. And I just wanted to come on here and talk about the Odyssey. I haven't seen it yet, so I want to give my thoughts before I see it, and then do another review after I see it. The reason why I'm not seeing it right away is because I actually have tickets to the full-blown IMAX experience, and the first opening day was sold out. And the next available group of tickets that we needed to get was for Wednesday, for whatever reason, time wise and all that stuff, schedule and all that stuff. So we're going to see that movie. And first of all, I agree with the Chuds. I'll put it that way. I was going to say something else, but I agree with the Chuds about the casting. I don't think, I think there's good reason to be pissed off about some of the casting. I just found out a couple hours ago that Elliot Page isn't even playing Achilles, though. So that was a little weird. People were freaking out about that one. But now it's not, now Elliot Page isn't actually playing Achilles. Elliot Page is playing Sinon, which is a very, very minor character. Not mentioned by Homer, but given by the Aeneid of Virgil. Like so minor. Most people probably don't even know who Sinon is. His death is pretty famous. Like he's famous for his death. That's what he's famous for. And it's funny because that's what's going to happen too. So, but here's the thing about the whole Achilles thing. It looks like they were trying to cast Elliot Page as, this is what it looks like to me. I could be wrong. It looks like they were trying to cast Elliot Page as Achilles for whatever reason. That to me is like, why? This is not me talking about trans people. It's nothing to do, like, don't take it that way. It's about Achilles as a fucking warrior. Like, let's be real. Achilles is the greatest warrior ever. It's just like you gotta have. I can't play Achilles. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying it has to be it has to be a certain type of like human. You know what I mean? Certain type of male, dude. All right. So, Elliot Page is not Achilles. Okay. Now, with that being said, Elliot Page isn't playing Achilles. Okay. That's fun. So we're good, right? Not really, though. Because it looks like they were trying to cast Elliot Page as Achilles, and they sort of backed out. And the reason why I think that is because the scene when Odysseus, and I haven't seen this, but I already know this is the case. I've already talked to a few people who've seen the movie. When Odysseus goes into Hades, I think that's book 10, I think, in the Odyssey. Let me just make sure I get that right. Book 11. Book 11, the Kingdom of the Dead. Wait, what's book 10 again? Yeah, Queen. Okay, so in book 11, when Hades goes into, when Odysseus goes down into Hades, you're introduced to Achilles for the first time in the Odyssey. You haven't seen, if you're reading Iliad through the Odyssey all the way through, you haven't seen Achilles since the Iliad. He's been gone. In fact, if you don't even read, if you only read the Iliad and then jump to the Odyssey, you might not even know he's dead, because his death isn't even portrayed in the Iliad. It's portrayed in the other part of the epic cycles. I think it's called the Sack of Ilium. There's another one called Ethiopia, which I'm about to get to in a second. Talk about black characters. There's black characters in Homer. You guys know that, right? It's another thing. I'm all over the place right now. I'm all sporadic. I'll tie it together. Another thing that's pissing me off on the Chud side is people saying that there's no black characters in the Iliad ever. There's no black people in Greece ever. That's not true. There's not a lot of them. I'm not saying there's going to be like how it is in America or anything like that. But you have major characters like Memnon, who comes and joins the Trojan War, king of Ethiopia. He brings a whole army. So you could have incorporated this somehow. You could have played off the material. I mean, look at this. Look at Memnon. Look at this. This is Memnon. This is ancient Greek pottery. African. We don't have to make stuff up. The material's good, man. We don't have to change shit. We can do you know what I mean? And look, I feel this way about any type of historical stuff. If we were to do a movie about ancient African mythology, and I've done plenty of videos on this, so don't try to come at me like, oh, you don't care about this stuff. No, I've talked about African mythology on my channel. I did a video that has 2 million views on my channel about African mythology, about the god Eshu. In fact, let me show you who Eshu is right now. Eshu. He's like a trickster, like a Hermes type of figure. And if someone recasted Eshu as anything but African, I would be like, what are you doing? This is an African god. So I think, I guess what I'm trying to get at is I agree with some of the pushback on the casting. It's not just mythology. It's not just, people are like, it's all just fantasy. No, it's not. First of all, Troy is a real place. Greece is a real place. Sparta is a real place. Helen of Sparta, before she becomes Helen of Troy, is a real place. You depict people based on the real places. This should not be controversial. This should not be controversial. Now, if I made a movie about Yoruba deities, the Yoruba deities, Yoruba land, you would want it to be done correctly. You wouldn't whitewash this. You would want to do it correctly. So this is a real place, and it has mythology. And if I was to portray that mythology, you portray it correctly. There's nothing wrong with that. And you can still incorporate you don't have to make it all white characters. You can, like I said, you got Memnon. It's not just Memnon either. There's another character who's part of Odysseus's crew. Eurybatus. And so Eurybatus is described as dark. Look at this, a Roman depiction of Eurybates looking not black. He might not be black. However, you can make the case based on the literature, based on the source. For example, so this is so he's from Ithaca, so you're like, okay, maybe maybe he was a freed slave or something. I don't know. There might be some way to make this work, right? Served as Odysseus' squire and herald. Now, some of you might be watching and like, no way, dude. No one from Ithaca ever is black. Well, let's read what Homer says real quick. Let's read what Homer says about this. Let's go right to the Odyssey. I think this is it right here. Oops, wrong one. We got a super chat.
At Vacan_Pan_Danny B's dropped $2 super chat. We need Jason Momoa as Poseidon.
Jason Momoa as Poseidon. I don't know. Maybe that could work. I mean, Jason Momoa doesn't look like that much different than a Greek might look. I mean, that could work. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Hold on. I want to show you what Homer says about what is this the right one? So Eurybates, let me see this. Is this it right here? Here it is right here. Okay, so Eurybates, Odysseus honored him above all his other comrades because he was like-minded with himself. Wait a minute. I should look up. Is this character in the Odyssey? Maybe he is. I haven't seen him. I'm looking at the cast right now. Nope. See, there you could have, if you're trying to go, I'm just trying to look at this like, I'm not trying to be one-sided here. If you really wanted to make a more diverse cast than what the material gives us, here's what you could have did. And I'm looking at the cast right now. You have Sinon, you have Athena, Odysseus, Telemachus, Penelope, Antinous, Menelaus, Agamemnon. You don't have Eurybates. So look at this. Eurybates is described, and right here, this word right here, melanchoros. Melon is a word you could use for black, literally, like melanin or dark. Dark literally says dark skinned. Melanchoros, dark skinned. Now that doesn't mean he's black, but he's not. You wouldn't just use that word for a random Greek person. That's not like a normal. Whoever wrote this, Homer's going out of his way to tell you this guy's dark. This guy's dark skinned. He says he's got dark skin and curly hair. Dark skin and curly hair. So he's a swarthy Mediterranean. And this would not upset me if you made this character black. You could have had your supporting character right next to Odysseus as black. You could have did that. You could have made it, and then you would have the sources on your side. You would have the source material on your side. And then no one's mad. I'm just trying to show you what I'm seeing here. Okay. Also, another thing I wanted to address. I do want to show. Oh yeah, I want to go back to Elliot Page for a second. I forgot to finish what I was saying. The reason why I think they were going for Achilles and why everyone thought this, because probably it got leaked out, and then backed out of it, is because when Odysseus goes down into Hades in the Odyssey, he goes and talks to Achilles. But in Nolan's movie, that's not what happens. He talks to a character who's not even in the Odyssey. He talks to Sinon. So wait a minute. Why did you change that? Why did you change one of the most epic scenes from the Odyssey and you took out one of the most epic characters from Homer. The main character, one of the main characters in the entire Homeric cycle is Achilles. And if you think I'm just like being transphobic, I'm actually gonna surprise you in the other direction. Because Achilles, believe it or not, there's a story, it's a prequel to the Iliad. It's called the Achillead. And maybe I can find it on Loeb, actually. That'd be kind of cool if I could find this on Loeb. Actually, I'll blow your mind if I can find this on Loeb. It's from Statius. It only survives in the Latin side. The Greeks, there it is. It's on Loeb. I'm about to blow your mind, guys. You're going to like this. You might not like this. So Statius is a famous Latin first century from the Golden Age, that first century Roman Latin period, where you have Ovid, you have Martial, you have Virgil, and you have Statius, you have just on and on and on. Pliny the Elder, Golden Age, Seneca. I can go on and on and on. The first century. One of the greatest poets of the first century is Statius, and Statius is rewriting the Homeric epics in Latin, not just translating them, but like writing them for the Roman world. Like they're being kind of rewritten. It's a recasting. It's almost like believe it or not, this is almost like what no one's doing today. Statius was doing this. So think about this. Statius is living 800 years after Homer, 700 years after Homer. Yeah, 800 years actually. A whole millennium later. In fact, he probably thinks he lives 1,000 years after Homer. And he's recasting, he's redoing, one of the books that he rewrites is called the Achillead. And believe it or not, Achilles, I'm not going to say Achilles is trans. Don't think I'm going there. But Achilles has to disguise himself under the wrath of Hera, and he grows up with the Amazonian women. I'm not kidding. This is in the text. I'm not just saying this. He has to live as a girl for his entire childhood until he becomes of age, until he's like 12 years old. So let me see if I can find you that just a passage to show you that. Says right here. No, that's not it. I wonder if it's. I think it's early on though. I think it's supposed to be I think it's in book 1. Here it is right here. Okay, so the Carpathian seer Proteus tells me to rid me of these terrors by a process of magic rite to purify the boy in secret seas under the western sky. Where are the farthest shores of ocean and my father Pontus warms with gliding stars? There are awful expiations and gifts to the gods unknown, but to tell it all would take too long, sorry, and I am forbidden. Just hand him over. So fabricates the mother, talking about Achilles' mother. For the ancient world would never have given the boy if she had dared to tell him of effeminate habit and degrading garb. Take him, best of mothers, take him, I pray, and bend the gods with humble entreaty, for your hopes pass bounds and envy is much to be placated. I go not to alarm you further, but I shall tell you the truth. His precocious force is brewing something big, going beyond his scanty years. Wait, where is it? Amazon. Oh, as a lion snatched from his mother's dogs learns manners and taught to let his mane be combed, to respect man and never to fly in a rage unless ordered. But if once steel flashed out of front of him, he forswears his faith, and his tamer becomes his foe. I'm gonna have to look up what passage that actually describes. Does it say Achilles was raised as a girl? ChatGPT usually knows these things. Book 1, so I was right about that. The specific passage where Thetis justifies the disguise. She retrieves it. So what passage? $230 to $325. I jumped a little too far. Look at this. Chiron follows the goddess on her path, begs speedy, or starts her. Right. It's not. This doesn't look like it. I should have got this ready. I wasn't even thinking about this until on the fly. I just thought about this. I wish I would have got this ready. Give me a second. Just go like this for a second. Is this it right here? No. Achilles once more brandishes the wands. No. Here we go. Forthwith she accosts the king, and they're calling the altars to witness. I give this girl, O king, the sister of my Achilles. See you now how fierce she looks, how like her brother, because it's him in disguise. Into your keeping. High mettled, she asks for weapons on her shoulders and a bow. Asks to shun wedlock, Amazon fashion. Because with the Amazonian women are like the ancient feminists, no man. They live on their own shit. So he's living in with these feminists, these ancient feminists, and they're warriors too. So he learns to be warriors with these girls. But I have enough to worry about on my man-child's account. Let her convey the baskets and the holy things. Do you rule and tame the froward wench and keep her in her sex till it is time for marriage? And relaxing of modesty, don't let her practice wanton wrestlings or wander in woodland wilds. Raise her indoors. Shut her among the girls like herself. Especially be sure to keep her away from the beach and the harbor. You saw the Phrygian sails the other day. Ships have now learned to cross the sea and violate mutual laws. The father assents to her words and accepts Achilles disguised by parental craft. Who should resist divine deceits? He even reverences her with suppliant hand and thanks her for choosing him. So you guys can go and read this on your own. The Achilleid. What the Achilleid is, it's before the events of the Iliad. So this is the upbringing of Achilles. And Achilles, he's obviously blessed. He's obviously a divine being. He's obviously like a demigod. He's divine. Like he's the son of Thetis. Thetis is like the goddess of she's like the sea nymph or goddess of justice, I think. And yeah, he's divine, but he also he's like he learned some of his warrior skills by growing up with the Amazonians. And I wanted to bring that up as like I wonder if that's I when I first heard that about the casting of Achilles, that was my first thought. I was like, is Nolan like so deep into the source material that he's like trying to make some sort of statement about that? And then I realized, no, that's stupid, because Achilles is still a warrior. He's not like doesn't change how he looks or anything. He's still a fucking jacked warrior. He's still the greatest of all time. So that doesn't work. And I was just thinking to myself, like, and then I found out that it's not actually Achilles that Elliot Page is playing. So I was like, okay, it must have not worked out. They must have, this is my guess, and I could be wrong. They probably ran the tape and were like, maybe we should just say that this is Sinon instead. Because Sinon dies in a very similar fashion. Achilles' death is very similar to Sinon's death. They both get like shot up with a bunch of arrows. So you could, I don't know if you guys watch Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon, but in House of the Dragon, they combine characters from the books. They combine two characters into one. There's a character named Nettles, she's a black character, by the way, in the books, and they took her out of the show. So like, and this is another thing that blows my mind about these modern adaptations that are trying to be inclusive. They literally take away the actual black characters from the source material, and then they change someone who's like the Valyrians, man. The Valyrians are literally pale skin, purple eyes, and silver hair in the books, and they're all black in the show. At least they still have white hair. But the actual black character, Nettles, which is one of my favorite characters in the books, by the way, Nettles is awesome in the books, took her out. But what do? They combined her character with one of the daughters of Daemon Targaryen, Rhaena Targaryen. So Rhaena, she plays Rhaena from the books, but all the stuff that Nettles does in the books, Rhaena's doing in the show. So they just combine characters. So what I think is going on, what I think they're actually doing in the Odyssey, is I think they're combining Sinon with Achilles. And that's why when Odysseus, Matt Damon's character, goes into Hades, which by the way, I haven't seen this yet, but I know this happens because I've seen bits and pieces, and I've heard people say, when he goes into Hades, instead of talking to Achilles like he does in the book or in the play, or I'm sorry, the epic, he talks to Sinon, which is played by Elliot Page. So it's like super confusing. I think that's a bad casting. I don't think that was a good idea. Put fucking Achilles in the Odyssey, man. That and I haven't even seen it, and that bothers me that they took Achilles out of the Odyssey. And I know that Achilles isn't a major character in the Odyssey. He's a major character in the Iliad, and he's very minor in the Odyssey. But when he shows up in the Odyssey, it's a major fucking scene. I mean, it's one of the most epic scenes in all of Western literature when Odysseus descends into Hades, in that catabasis, and he sees the greatest warrior of all time, and he's a shade, and he's mourning his life, and he's saying, he's like, Achilles, you're the greatest warrior ever, and he's like, shut up, I don't care about that anymore. You don't know what I would do to just be a farmer. If I could just go back and just be a farmer on Earth rather than live here and be king among the dead. It's an amazing, amazing piece of literature. It really is. It's like one of the most, I don't know. The fact that they got rid of that, and I haven't even seen it yet, I'm already getting mad thinking about it, that they got rid of that scene. I guess I have to wait to see it before I judge it. So that's that. That's enough about the Elliot Page thing. But I'd still want to touch up on the casting black characters, because there's so much you could have did. Like I said before, you have the Ethiopian army, and the Ethiopians are considered like seriously big players. They're not. This isn't like a cop out. Oh, I'm gonna give you some little tiny. No. The Ethiopian kingdom is huge, and they take it very. It's one of the wealthiest, largest kingdoms mentioned in Homer. They're considered like righteous, the righteous Ethiopians, I think they're called. Like they're like actually like very well established. They're not just like some backwater. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how else to describe it. Let me just show you. I mean, we could read the Odyssey. We could read what he says. Where is it? All right, so I'm going to go to some of the stuff it says about Memnon too. Now, Memnon technically dies before the events of the Odyssey, but he doesn't die in the Iliad, I don't think. Yeah, I think he dies in Aethiopius, which is about them. It's almost like, you know how the Latins get their own epic that's a shoot off of the Homeric cycle, which is Virgil's Aeneid. Well, technically the Ethiopians got one too. The Aethiopius, right here. If you see, like it's a lost epic, one from the epic cycle, and I think it's considered to be an octateuch. Like there's the Moses' Pentateuch. I remember reading a source. I forgot what sources. I think it might have been Diogenes Laertius, and he says that the Homeric cycle was called an octateuch, 8 books. There's 8 of them. It's not just 2. It's not just Homer, not just Iliad and Odyssey. There's 8 of them. Aethiopius is one of them. The Kypria is one of them. That's 4. The Achilleid is one of them. That's 5. Little Iliad is another one, 6, and there's 2 more besides that. Oh, Iphigenia. The story of Iphigenia is at 7, and I think there's one more after that. But look, you can see right here. It's like the story of Aethiopius lands chronologically after the Iliad and before the events of the Little Iliad. So this is also before the Odyssey. So what happens in this story? Well, it's Achilles fights with the great warrior Memnon. So it says right here, another Trojan ally arrives, Memnon, son of Dawn. So this is a divine figure. Like what are you guys? You guys could have made a character that's based on the actual literature, and he's son of Dawn, dude. He's the son of Dawn, dude. That's badass. It's not a cop out. You don't need to cop out when you deal with Homeric literature. There's enough good material to work with. You don't have to change shit. So you have Memnon, son of Dawn, and Tithonus, leading the Ethiopian contingent and wearing armor made by the god Hephaestus. Now imagine that. They're wearing godly armor. You could have had, this is all after I'm telling you, this is all after the Iliad. You could technically throw this in an Odyssey adaptation, because this is part of the post-Iliad, pre-Odyssey narrative. They could have did something with this, or maybe they could have had someone from Memnon's force who's something. I don't know. They could have figured something out though. There's enough to go off. Memnon kills Antilochus, the Greek warrior who's the son of Nestor and a favorite of Achilles. Achilles then kills Memnon, and Zeus makes Memnon immortal. So Memnon literally becomes a god. This could have been a scene, dude. This could have been a scene, man, at Eos's request. But in his rage, the Achilles pursues the Trojan. Now, what I love about this is that after the war is over, the Ethiopians go back to Ethiopia, and that's their story. They have their own story, right? They go back. They're going home now, just like Aeneas goes back to Latium, just like Odysseus goes back to Ithaca, and they all have their own going home, going back to their family, go back to their culture, go back to their gods, go back to their temples. They all had that. That's part of the whole. That's what makes this story so grand and such a grand narrative. It's a world war. It really is. It's a world war. This is world war. Everyone's involved. Every player on the map is involved at Troy. That's what Homer's trying to tell you. And if you wanted to be inclusive, you could have did it in the right. You could have did it in such a beautiful 4D chess way. I feel like this movie could have been, and that movie's doing good from what I heard, but it could have been perfect. By the way, I saw the scene, man. I gotta say this. I saw the scene on Twitter, and it was the opening scene, and it just looks so corny. So, like I said, I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not judging the movie yet. I'm going to judge the movie after I see it. I'm going to be extremely honest. I don't care who I piss off. If I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I don't like it. I'm going to tell you exactly what I think. But when I saw this scene, where is it? This scene right here. When I saw this scene right here, I was like, "Oh my God, that's not. This is corny. This is just corny, man. This is not. What is this? This is not." The music's obviously a joke. Wait, what was that running? How are you a director and you're watching that and you're like, cut, retake that? Why are you wobbling all like a penguin? What are you doing? What are you doing? What was that? You look like a little kid. You look like a 10-year-old child. Come on, bro. You gotta do better than that. That just feels weird watching that. This has nothing to do with. This is not me trying to. I'm not being unfair. That's all I'm saying. This is just me being completely honest with you. I'm taking this completely. No, that doesn't work. Doesn't work. I don't know what you're going for. I mean, even the character Sinon is not Achilles, so it's not that bad. Like I said, Sinon is not like a straight up like, it's not Achilles. So am I going to give it? Am I going to get it minus points yet? No. But that scene didn't look good. The scene just didn't look good. That's all I'm saying. The scene does not look good. So I guess. So here's the funny part about what I just said, or what we just saw, I should say. That scene of Sinon running outside of Troy and being brought to Priam by getting killed by the Trojans. That's not from the Odyssey. They took that from the Aeneid and they have mapped it onto the Odyssey, which I'm totally fine with. But if you're gonna do that, why not draw from the Ethiopias too? If you're gonna draw from the Aeneid and throw this scene in there to get Sinon's death in there, why not have Achilles fighting Memnon? And there you go. Then you got a fucking warrior from Ethiopia from the source material. What a swing and a miss. What a missed opportunity for that. And they just don't. They'd rather make people mad and switch around characters that are not normally depicted. And Helen of Troy, Helen of Sparta being black is like, that doesn't make sense. There's nothing racist about me saying this. Sparta is a place. It's a real place. You're going to depict a character from Sparta, make it a somewhat believable, make it look like a character from Sparta. I don't know. Is that really that controversial to say? I don't think so. I don't really care if it is, because I really think it's obvious. See, we got a super chat here.
At Vacan_Pan_Danny B's dropped $2 super chat. Morgan Freeman as Memon, smiley face emoji.
Morgan Freeman as Memnon. Why not? Why not? You can do that. I would rather go with some sort of warrior, like someone jacked, than Morgan Freeman. But like I said, like look what we're working with here with Memnon. I mean, this is from pottery from the 6th century BC. Look at this. That's Memnon right there, holding his bow. That's Memnon. This is what the Greeks put on. This is what they drank wine out of this thing. He's part of the culture, man. Like he's a character. He's Ethiopian. He's not Greek. That's fine. He doesn't have to be Greek.
A Thought on Fire 222 dropped $2 super chat. Why is the sky blue? Homer described it as bronze.
I mean, you have like the wine dark sea, the bronze. I think does he really describe it as bronze? Because I know you have the rosy dawn. He says that all the time in a lot of the chapters. So I don't know what you're getting at. I'm just talking about material here. Thank you for the super chat, though. I appreciate that.
And Dylan Tide 8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat. You think Jay Dyer is willing to debate you?
We already debated. We debated. You can look up Gnostic Informant Jay Dyer debate. It's 100,000 views. It'll come right up. It was a fun debate, too. I enjoyed it. It was a good debate. I mean, honestly, it's a good question, though, because I've been wanting to debate like historical accuracy, historicity of the Bible, Moses, New Testament. They don't ever want, he doesn't want to debate that. No, he doesn't care about that. He wants to get into philosophy. He wants to do like a priori worldviews. What is your a priori worldview? And let's debate my worldview versus your worldview. Which is fine. I'll do it. It's fun. I think it's fun. It's like, mentally boxing. But I want to get into the real nitty gritty, which is the primary sources, which is the history. And they don't like to do that. None of them do. None of the Orthodox guys ever want to debate that topic. Andrew Wilson doesn't. Jim Bob doesn't. And Jay Dyer doesn't. They don't want to talk about how old the Torah is. They don't want to talk about the historicity of Jesus. They don't want to talk about none of that stuff because there's nothing they can. There's no winning ground for them there. There's nothing they can win on. They're just going to lose. Let's just lose. That's all there is for that. So, but yeah, you can go look it up. We had a good debate. It was a fun time. We debated monism and Orthodox Christianity, basically Neoplatonism. So look at this. You got Achilles and you got Memnon right here battling. And you even got a swastika there. I didn't even know about that. That's pretty cool.
And Dylan Tide 8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat. Shit, my bad. Got to debate Lucifer emo.
Got to debate Lucifer. Oh, I had the wrong pulled up. Got to debate Lucifer, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, if Lucifer wants to debate me, down. I don't know what you mean, but I appreciate the $5. Thank you. Appreciate you. So I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying, right? I'm not real. Look, I also want to be very clear. This stuff does not make me lose my mind. I know I've seen a lot of people on Twitter, like Homer. I like Homer. Homer Pavlos, I think his name is. And yeah, Pavlos. And this guy, man, he's like, dude, go outside and look. I agree. I literally just expressed my own distaste for what they're doing, but like at the same time, this is Homer right here. I think he lives in Greece. This guy is like, let's see. Let's just take. I don't even know what some of this stuff says. There are some powerful secrets and symbols in the Odyssey that you can only understand if you speak Greek. It might be true, actually. The Odyssey, apart from being a literary work, also gives profound philosophy. Okay. Antinous means mine. Yeah, I guess. Here we go. This isn't the first time it has happened. It's the first time you've noticed it. And it's now time for you to understand why you must reject Hollywood and stop financially supporting policies that aim to destroy you spiritually. What happened with Nolan's Odyssey has happened with every major production dealing with Greek civilization. It's like, all right, my head starts to hurt when I read stuff like this. Like, it's not the end of the world, man. It's like if this is really that big of a deal for you, then you really should be working to like get funds together, find another director somewhere to make another film. Like if this means this much, and that maybe it does. Maybe Homer is really, his name's Homer for God's sake. Maybe, and I might be speaking true here. Produce a movie.
At Dellentine,
You know?
8,619.
I'm not even being a dick.
They hate Gnostics, hence why I stated that. I grew up Catholic, but I'm willing to hear out different interpretations.
Yeah, they do hate Gnostics. I mean, the Gnostics are pretty well hated. It's a pretty established thing. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I'm glad you're here, man. I hope you enjoy my channel, by the way. I have a lot of videos on Gnosticism. You'll probably enjoy it. So stick around, man. Thank you for the super chat. Yeah, and just look, this, like I said, I agree with the pushback. I do. But it's also like it's a Hollywood director doing what Hollywood directors do. Like why? Because it's the Iliad, it's like this is like, oh my God. But like this, first of all, this isn't even the first time the Iliad has been, the Odyssey. This isn't even the first time the Odyssey has been adapted. I mean, even movies like Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, for example. Let me see if I can find that. This one. This is actually technically an adaptation of the Odyssey. Now it has nothing to do. There's no Odysseus. It's not even filmed in Greece. It's an American movie in the 1930s, but it's taking the plot of the Odyssey and rewriting it about 1930s America. And so it gets redone. It's an adaptation. And what I think what Nolan's doing is something similar, but not going as far as to like rewrite the whole thing in a different time period. He's going back to the same time period. He's going for the same Trojan War. He's going for Odysseus still, but he's changing a lot of major things. And my point I'm trying to make is that's going to happen over and over and over again. People are going to rewrite the Odyssey. People rewrote the Odyssey in the Roman times. People told different versions. In fact, oh my God, I just thought about this. Oh my God. If you thought the Achilles was going to blow your mind, wait till watch what I'm about to show you right now. Watch what I'm about to show you right now. Speaking of adaptions that piss people off, I'll give you the worst adaption you'll ever imagine in your whole life. So if you're super conservative and you are about the family, great, right? I agree. But people in ancient Greece, there's a writer. What's his name? I have in my notes here. Actually, I have a saved tab actually from this website that features fragmentary text. It's called the digital. Where is it? Hold on a second. The DFHG. That's what it is. This is okay. So there's a few sources that totally change the Odyssey, and so the reason why I brought up conservative family is like one of the major themes in the Odyssey is the return. There's a whole movie called The Return, by the way. I love that movie. Let me just pull it up before I show you what I'm about to show you. I don't know if you guys know the movie The Return. It was from last year, I think, and all it is it focused on the last half of the Odyssey, where Odysseus returns home and he sees the suitors, right, and he kills them all. That's the movie The Return. And great movie, by the way. Great actors. 2024. I recommend seeing this movie as soon as possible. Great movie. One of the best movies I've seen in a long time, actually. However, what if I told you that there's another version, and not modern, not medieval, not late antiquity, ancient, Hellenistic, where the suitors get their way and Penelope forgets about Odysseus?
Adelan Tide 8619 dropped $4.99 super chat. My thing is, who defines what is Satanists?
Yeah, I guess Christians do, right? Once you call yourself a Satanist, you just basically gave yourself over to Christianity in the worst way possible. You could give yourself over to Christianity and do it right and be a Christian, be a pastor, be a priest, or become pope. But if you say I'm a Satanist, you've just given yourself over as the bad guy in their religion. I'm telling you right now, I've been to Greece, and it changed my whole perspective on religion. They're not Satanists over there. They're not. The pagans are not Satan. They don't believe in Satan. They don't say hail Satan. They don't do that. They don't care because Satan is Hebrew and they all know it. They say diabolo. They say devil. And they don't believe in the devil, and they don't say hail the devil because the devil is a character in the Hebrew Bible or in the New Testament Christianity. So the whole Satanist thing, if you want to be a Satanist, you're still an Abrahamic religionist, but you've chose to be the worst part of it. You're just giving them what they want. They want there to be Satanists because if they're Satanists, then oh my God, the Bible's right. In the end times, there'll be the Antichrist, and they're all here. And you just give them their prophecy on a platter. You think it hurts them to see Satanists in the world? You think Christians are like, oh no, they're Satanists? No, you're helping the LARP. Anyways, thank you for that super chat. So The Return. What if I told you that there's another version? Now, this is from the DFHG, and there's a Darius from Samos. Darius Samius, right? There's a guy named, it's a very fragmentary author. He's from like 300 BC. I know, I guess he's from, hang on, let me look him up. Darius of, here it is right here. Let me just show you guys. Let me just show you guys what I'm talking about right here. This guy right here, Darius of Samos. So he goes even before, he's born before the Hellenistic period starts. So we're talking late classical period, ancient. He dies in 281. I mean, this is the beginning of the Hellenistic period. this is like I guess he's a middleman between the Hellenistic and classical period. I don't know how you would classify him. Somewhere in between, right? I mean, he dies at the beginning of the Hellenistic period. He was born at the end of the classical period. So this is very, 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 very ancient. Very, 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 very ancient. Now, why am I bringing him up? For the Odyssey. Well, what does he say about the Odyssey? Well, I guess you're going to have to stay tuned because it's another super chat. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you for the super chats, by the way.
At Vacan_Pan_Danny B's dropped $2 super chat. They need to do an MK Ultra version of the Odyssey.
Hell yeah. Why not? You can do it. You can do any kind of Odyssey you want. But if you're gonna try to adapt the Odyssey and keep it in Greece and keep it with the Greek characters, you should reflect that. You know what I mean? I'm all for people readapting the Odyssey. Make an Odyssey. Do you want to make an Odyssey about South Africa or whatever, and just like it takes place in Africa, and it's a black Odysseus, but he's a different kind of character. Do it.
8,619.
The sky's the limit.
$4.99 super chat. But by anything that is not according the church is considered blasphemy, correct?
Yeah, blasphemy. Anything that's not according to the church. I mean, yeah, pretty much what the word blasphemy is. Pretty much is going against the sacred word. You know. Absolutely. Thank you for that super chat. And Pan, Bach and Pan, I agree. Like, you can make an Odyssey movie about Norse Vikings. You could have an Odysseus Viking, maybe change his name to something that's Norse, and make him just like change the whole entire, just the way you would adapt something to the Norse world. You could do that. That's fun. Like that's what mythology is about. But if you're going to make it about Troy, and you're going to make it about the Trojans and the Achaeans then you got to keep it. You got to keep the things where they are. You can't fuck around. Like, you can. I'm not saying you can't do it, but people are going to be mad about it, rightfully so. Okay. Well, last but not least, I brought up what's his name? Durrus of Samos. Why did I bring him up? Why did I bring up this late classical period author? Well, this is going to blow your mind. Remember I told you how at the end of the Odyssey, Odysseus comes back and the suitors are there and he kills them all and he gets his wife back. Well, watch this. There's a fragment and it's preserved. I believe it's preserved in Zetzes, but this isn't it. I don't see it here. Let me keep going. Is this it right here? Nope. Keep going. Yes, this is it. Penelope. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you guys right now. I'm going to translate it right over for you right now. Boom. Look at this.
At Dull and Tide 8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat. I don't trust the church. That's emo.
I don't blame you, man. I don't trust. Why would you? Well, I mean, look at the history of the church. What have they been doing for the entire last 1,500 years? Nothing good. Nothing good. That's nothing that you should trust them over. Manipulation, manipulating text, forging documents, just sort of a Machiavellian mindset of divide and conquer and force conversion, social pressure. I mean, witch trials against pagans, and it's bad. It's bad. So I don't blame you. Thank you. All right, look at what it says here. It says, Penelope, Doris from Samos, from Agathocles, Penelope to be related this is a horrible translation, dude. Horrible translation. Here's a better one. Doris of Samos says that Penelope had affairs with all her suitors. What? What did that just say? Durus of Samos from 350 to 280 BC. He wrote in the history of Agathocles, Penelope had affairs with all her suitors. And guess what? As a result of all of those suitors dropping their load in her, literally.
Oh, God. Oh, God.
What happened? They bore the god Pan, a goat-like creature. But Durus is joking. For Pan was the son of Mercury, and another. So this is actually John Zetzi saying this. Now, there's another source for this, by the way. So this is not just Durus that says this.
At Science dropped $5 super chat. It's going to rule. The Dark Knight. Dunkirk.
Yeah.
Excellent movies. We'll see.
I agree. This is why I'm going to see it. I mean, I think I made it abundantly clear that I protest a lot of the stuff going on, but it's still going to be fucking Nolan, dude. I mean, even Oppenheimer is a great movie. You know what I mean? Thank you for that super chat.
At Dylan Tide 8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat.
Hell yeah.
Bro, I think you mocked J Dyer emo.
Appreciate that. Thank you for saying that. A lot of people said that. I had a lot of people, a lot of debate bro nerds told me that too. They were like, you could have really got him when you said this. You had him in the corner, you didn't even realize it, and they were pointing some things out. But they all were like, I still think you beat him though. And I'm like, okay, cool. I appreciate that. You know, a lot of other people decide if I won or not. I don't like to say if I won or not. But I appreciate you telling me that. That's awesome. So this guy Durus literally this is a fragment of Durus saying that that Pan was born during the Trojan War when Odysseus was away, and all the suitors got Penelope pregnant. And then and then John Zetzius goes, this isn't true though. Pan was the son of Mercury and Penelope. And so he's like, okay, fine. But if that was the only fragment we had, I probably wouldn't even brought that up. But it's not. There's another one. Apollodorus. Apollodorus in his epitome tells this is like another side story of the Iliad and the Odyssey. And he says, the journeying to the palace consumed the herds, Ulysses at their feast. And this is really Odysseus. But the translator, for some weird reason, this stupid English translation. I mean, if you're translating Latin, fine. But you're translating the Greek. Why would you write Ulysses here? Anyways, Ulysses at their feast, Penelope was compelled to promise that she would wed when the shroud of Laertes was finished. And she wove it for 3 years, weaving it by day and night, undoing it by night.
At Vacan_Pan_ Danny B's dropped $2 super chat. My mom had milkshakes that brought boys to TH Yard.
That's Penelope for you right there in this version. Not in Homer's version. But in these dark side stories, these are dark stories, dude. These are dark stories. This might be you might be able to make a feminist adaptation where Odysseus goes to war and then she's just like, I'm just gonna do what I want. Hey, suitors, let's go. Like, you could do that. This is what these people in ancient Greece were doing. So, and in fact, this is what I'm trying to get across when I'm doing my live right now, is the idea of adaptation and changing things. That's ancient Greek all day. There's so many versions of so many myths in ancient Greece. So many different versions of so many different myths. You name it. The myths of Dionysus, the myths of Apollo. There's so many different versions that they don't even agree with each other.
619 dropped $4.99 super chat. In your opinion, is it wrong to pray to various gods?
No. Why would I say that? Oh, you're probably new to this channel, aren't you? No, I would never say something like that. But yeah, I appreciate you asking that. I mean, I'll probably get into that on another topic, but I would say no.
937 dropped $5 super chat. Can you believe in the possibility of polytheism becoming popular again when considering the AI, Al, is a god in competition with other AIs?
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, if you think about AI and what it is, I wouldn't call it a god, but I think you can almost put it on the level of a daimon. It's a daimonic, spiritual, technical, little technology daimon or something. You know what I mean? It's like it's fucking weird, man. AI chatbots are weird. There's something about them. There's something. I know it's not real. I know it's just ones and zeros, but like you can almost see that there might be something daimonic about it. And I'm using the word daimonic in the original classical sense, where it doesn't necessarily have to be evil or good. It's just something. There's just a power there. There's just something there. That's what I'm saying. But yeah, I'm not surprised that polytheism is becoming popular again. People are looking back at these ancient sources and realizing that the Bible's not the oldest story in the world anymore. People used to think that. It's actually very, very in respect to some of these old, like Homer's Iliad, for example. It's actually not even close to what was old. So I think people are exploring their ancestral customs in a way they haven't been able to do for thousands of years, 2,000 years, or 1,500 years. So
At Eddie Moore, 3,742 dropped $19.99 super chat. Appreciate you and Derek covering the Odyssey movie. I feel so prepared to interpret the film after years following you, Derek. And Jacob.
Yeah, Jacob's going to go see it today, so he's watching it right now. I think he told me he was going to see it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching it and talking about it. And this is just my, just giving my forethoughts on things I already know about the casting. Maybe I won't talk about the casting as much next time because I'll do it now. But unless I need to add more to what I think, unless it was good or if it was bad, obviously I'll talk about it again. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I appreciate your 20, man. I really appreciate you dropping 20, man. Appreciate that. Thank you.
At Still dropped $2 super chat. They called apps routines in the 90s diamonds.
Yeah, routines. Yeah, that is true. Routines. Diamonds. They call diamonds apps, you think? I mean, I guess it is like a diamond. I guess every app is like a personal diamond, like a little mini diamond. You know what I mean? A little mini helper. That actually makes sense.
At Dullen Tide 8,619 dropped $9.99 super chat. Took bunch of ketamine the other day. There are definitely other entities, Lamau.
Oh, I never tried ketamine, dude. And I've tried a lot of shit. I've been to music festivals and done DMT and mushrooms and the normal besides those two, the norm stuff, everything, I'm not going to get into it, but anyways, yeah, man, you definitely get some visitors. That's for sure. That's a real thing. And that's why I'm not surprised to know the ancient Eleusinian mysteries, for example, or the ancient Vedic mysteries, or even Zoroastrian mysteries, were using substances to get into different states of consciousness. Like Kaikion was the drink that they consumed in the Eleusinian mysteries, and it was psychoactive. And some people think that one of the ingredients was a mushroom that grows on wheat, on grain. And so this is definitely
back in underscore
part of the process.
$2 super chat. Become a member. Heart on fire emoji. $4 keeps the lights on.
Hell yeah. Thank you for that, Bach and Pan. Appreciate you. Yeah, the great super chats, by the way. Everyone's on fire right now. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. And yeah, like you said, that is definitely part of the ancient world, part of the traditions. The Scythians had their own fermented milk that they drank. And it's not always like intense, like acid trips. Sometimes it's just a subtle psychoactive, sometimes the incense, you light the incense and the storax, the myrrh, and it just kind of opens you up a little bit. And this is what the Oracle of Delphi would probably be doing. Stuff like that. It doesn't have to be hardcore tripping balls, although I'm sure some of that's going on too. But yeah, I appreciate you, Eddie. Always good to see you in the chat. Always great to see you in the chat as well. And I'm looking forward to jumping back on here in a week from now, less than a week from now, and really talking about this movie. But I hope I can give a little bit of insight before as to some of the things that I would like to see or what I think should be going on, you know. And so Apollodorus also tells the story about Penelope, and she was weaving, you know, she's doing the weaving and she's weaving. And it says that till she was detected, and Odysseus, being apprised of the state things at home, came to his servant Eumaeus in the guise of a beggar.
_VCH_Vsic has become initiated.
Hell yeah, dude. You have attained you're about to attain true gnosis. Thank you, man. I appreciate you. Really do. So he makes himself known to Telemachus, the son. And let's just continue. Let's just move ahead a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole thing right now, but look at this. Penelope delivered to the suitors the bow of Ulysses, which he had once received from Iphitus, and she said that she would marry him who bent the bow. When none of them could bend it, Ulysses took it and shot down the suitors with the help of Eumaeus.
8,619 dropped $9.99 super chat. You been to Mex? Get linked with some good Mexicans that dabble.
I've never been to Mexico yet. I live in Florida, so I'm not that far, but I've just never been there yet. Maybe I will sometime. Maybe that sounds like a plan. Sounds, you know, I've been to Greece and I've been to the Mediterranean, but I've never been down south before. So maybe I'll do that one day. Thank you for that. Appreciate you, Doll. I really appreciate you tonight, Doll. You're on fire tonight. Thank you. I really appreciate that. And so that's so far. This is the Orthodox story, right? But then if you keep going, he says he sacrifices to Hades and Persephone, Tiresias. He journeyed on foot to Epirus, and blah 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 blah. And so what does he say? What happens here? You keep going, and let me just find the actual part where it says. Here we go. Corpse and Penelope to Circe, and there he married Penelope, and that's the end of the story. And Circe sent them both away to the Isle of the Blessed. It literally happily ever after, right? So Apollodorus gives you a rundown of the Orthodox story, where Penelope and Odysseus, they get married, and they're literally sent away to the Island of the Blessed by Circe, which is what makes you think, did she give him a potion or something? How did they get to the Island of the Blessed? Anyways, but then he says, but some say Penelope was seduced by Antinous. What? And sent away by Odysseus or Ulysses by her father Icarius, and that when she came to Manatea in Arcadia, she bore Pan to Hermes. However, others say that she met her end at the hands of Ulysses himself on account of Amphinomus, for they allege that she was seduced by him. And there was others who say that Ulysses, being accused by the kinfolk of the slain, submitted to the case of judgment Neoptolemus, king of the islands of Epirus. So basically, long story short, he literally tells you, yeah, here's the Orthodox version. However, there's a lot of people, or not a lot of, some people say Penelope cheated on his ass, and then she gave birth to the god Pan. Pan! Like, what? The demon Pan. You know, I'm not saying he's a demon, but like, Pan is the goat-headed horned god. That's a crazy story. That's a crazy story. That like out of wedlock you would get this god. Like, let me show you like that. I mean, think about that. Imagine whoever wrote this is sick, man. It's just a sick story. Like she literally cheats on Odysseus while he's out fighting the war, the biggest war ever, and she gives birth to this Pan. So I guess what I'm trying to say is there are adaptions that are out as far back as the ancient world that would piss you off if it was done today. If that was done today, you'd be like, this is some feminist fucking garbage, bro.
937 dropped $5 super chat. Iran. Then I swam D River to the res on India, Indiana, where I attainted my Indian name. Chief water runs down back.
Really? You swam down the river to the res in India, where I attained my Indian name. Interesting. Appreciate you, Eric.
At Lisa Reneisen if 8LW dropped $5 super chat. Love your work. Greatly appreciated. Looking forward to your book.
I appreciate that. And that's coming along too. I've been working on that as much as possible. Really, really actually working on that a lot, actually. So hopefully by October or something, I can get something done on that. So staying tuned on that.
At non-SVCH_MSIG dropped $1.99 super chat. Zeus and Pan were allied at one time. Complex.
Oh no, they always were. Zeus and Pan, I don't think Zeus and Pan were ever not aligned. Pan is not necessarily there's nothing evil about Pan. He's not immoral. He's not the god you look up to for morality. He's not perfect. There's some dark shit going on with Pan. But that's the point. The point is that Pan he's a woodland spirit. He's the spirit of the springtime, fertility, which is the time where people have sex, or the time the flowers are blooming and animals are running around mating. You see literally really bunnies banging in the trees. Like, that's Pan. Pan represents the spirit of that. So it's not evil. It's just nature. It's natural. He's the nature god. That's why his name is Pan. It means all. He's the all. That image, though, the image of Pan becomes evil by Christians because Pan represents the all. He's the opposite of the monad. He's the all. He's the multiplicity. So he becomes opposition. He's also the pagan god. He's also the rustic god. And the word pagan, paganos in Latin, means rustic. So the chief rustic god is Pan. So in a sense, Pan by default becomes the image of all that is pagan. He becomes the image of paganism. Therefore, he's the devil. He's the opposite of what, like, that's how the Christians would view it. And it's a slow progression, but it's there. There's a reason why Pan becomes that demonic, evil image in the eyes of Christians. Even though in the eyes of pagans, he's just the image of nature. Because we all have that nature in us. We all have that, especially males with testosterone. It's just part of our nature to get horny and shit. Like, it is what it is. Like, we could pretend it's not there, but we're just pretending. Doesn't mean like sexual assault's okay or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, you still have to control yourself. Like, but I'm just like saying this is just part of nature. Like, this is how shit is. Does that make sense? What I'm saying? Hopefully that does. And what was I about to say? Oh yeah, Pan. Pan's the Arcadian god of rustic, the rustic. Oh, by the way, I want to talk about this too. This Yinks character.
At Vacan_Pan_Danny B's dropped $5 super chat. Pan is all. He's the ecstatic frolic and satirical reason.
Mm-hmm.
He is such a handsome man. Rolling on the floor laughing emoji. Rolling on the floor laughing emoji. He is the eros and mania within all.
Yeah.
Divine masculinity.
Yeah. That's what Pan is. Exactly. Well, perfectly said, actually. He's the ecstatic frolic. Satirical season. You're absolutely right. The satirical season, satire. That's right. And satyr. Friedrich Nietzsche was big Pan, not worshiper, but like honorer, because Pan represents the image of life itself. And this is what he meant by the death of God. We killed Pan, which is interesting because that's one of the sources from Plutarch, was that the great god Pan is dead. That was one of the declarations that Plutarch heard from an oracle of Apollo. Or no, not Apollo. It was from a guy who was in a boat who got an oracle from Apollo. And he was telling everyone that what he heard, that Apollo has spoken, Pan is dead. And everyone was like, no. And it's crazy because a lot of later philosophers and historians in medieval period, beyond that, in Renaissance especially, were interested that was said right before Christ was born. Because Plutarch's telling the story in the late 1st century, but he's telling it about a guy who lived decades before, right around 2nd decade of the 1st century. So this guy from this, like, the 20s AD, he was like, we just got an oracle. Pan is dead, everyone. There's actually a song about this. It's one of my favorite songs, by the way. It's called it's from the Waterboys. And I'll try to play it. I'm gonna get dinged, but
At Dull and Tide 8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat. What is your opinion on Jude's? You think he was set up?
Jude's? Who's Jude's? Oh, Judas? I think it's a narrative, dude. The story about Judas, he wasn't set up or anything. I don't think it actually happened. In fact, this is a good question. I think people need to understand where that comes from. In the book of Genesis, let me find this for you. Judah sells out Joseph. Genesis. It's like Genesis 40 or something like that. Genesis 40. Let me see. Genesis 37. Okay. So in Genesis 37, watch this. Genesis 37. Let me share my screen. All right. So the 12 sons of Jacob, the 12 tribes, the 12 sons, they're all out and they're all working in the fields. They're all grazed their father's flocks in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "Oh, your brothers are out there. Go outside, hang out with your other 11 brothers." Now remember, Joseph is the chosen brother. He's the chosen son. He's the favorite of Israel. He's the favorite one. He's Joseph, right? And it's interesting that it's the same name as the father of Jesus. Just, something to think about. Because as you go down, what happens is Joseph came to his brothers. They stripped him. Wait, where is it? Right here. But then they saw him, and before they reached, they plotted to kill him. The brothers plot to kill him. But the interesting part is this. Judah, and by the way, I just want you to point something out. In Greek, it's not Judah. In Hebrew, it's Yehudah. Judah. In Greek, it's Judas. So Judas says to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? I have an idea. How about we sell him for 20 shekels of silver to the Ishmaelites?" And they do that. So Judas, just like Judas, literally the same exact name from the Synoptic Gospels, sells out the chosen son of God, because in this case, Jacob is Israel. He's the image of God, right, in the Old Testament. And the sons are the 12 disciples. And Joseph is the picture of Jesus. He gets sold out by Judas, literally by Judas, right here, Judas, for 20 shekels instead of 30 shekels. So the New Testament story is just rewriting the Old Testament. And what happens to Joseph after this? He gets killed. And you're like, wait a minute. No, he doesn't. He does. Listen to what it says. It says,
my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned for his son many days. I will continue to mourn until I join my son in my grave. His father wept. He's dead. That's the end of the chapter. And Joseph literally gets taken down into Egypt, and he gets put into a dungeon. And then he has to he literally comes, and the dungeon is the image of Hades. He's dead. He's in hell. He goes down into the catabasis, and he has to rise back up. And he rises so high back up that he becomes the second most powerful man in the entire world next to Pharaoh. And then he finds his father and his brothers and he does a power play basically and like lets them know now I'm more powerful than all of you. I have your lives in my hand now. You had my life in your hand. Now I have your lives in my hand. He rises up like a god, a divinity, and takes back his father's position. So it's definitely a precursor to Jesus. And Judas is Judas. It's the same character. They're spelled exactly the same name and everything. One of them sells him out for 20 shekels. The other one sells him out for 30 shekels. It's the same story. So do I think he got set up? No. He's just a literary figure. Judas didn't even exist. So thank you for that super chat. A great question, by the way.
At Gage Rocker dropped $4.99 super chat. Christians won't debate the anthropological development of Yahwism and Christianity's dependency on Platonism for its theological framework.
Hell yeah, dude. They won't. They don't want to. Because there's nothing for them to win in. I've been trying to get, like I said, Andrew Wilson, Jay Dyer, Jim Bob. Let's get into history. Let's get into the history of the Bible. Let's get into when was the Bible written? Who's the first person to cite the Bible? Who's the first person to mention Abraham? Is Abraham ever talked about in ancient Babylonian sources? The Bible says he fought all these wars. He should be. You know, it's not just some random shepherd somewhere. He's a guy who's fighting battles with kings. And those kings that are mentioned in Genesis, those guys, where are they in history? Can we find them? No. They're all made up. It's literally made up history. Like it's crazy. Genesis has this whole long story about the War of 10 Kings in Syria and Aram and Damascus and all the names. It even says one of them is the king of the Goyim. The fuck is that? The king of the nations. That's what the word means in Hebrew. The king of the Goyim fought a war. Who's that? Who's the king of the Goyim? What the fuck does that mean? Made up. It's just a made up story. This guy whose name is the priest Melchizedek, the King Melchizedek, king of Salem. What? And then you look at history. You look at the historical record. You look for, archaeology. You look for inscriptions. Does the Egyptians mention this guy? Does the Canaanites mention this god? Does the Babylonians? Does the Hittites? Nobody mentions these people. They don't exist in history. They only exist in the Bible. That's a problem. So, and then you bring up, the whole Elephantine thing is like world shattering. When you find out about Elephantine, I remember learning about this for the first time, and I just thought to myself, no way. The first time I heard someone say that Elephantine never mentions Moses, and then I was like, really? But they mentioned Abraham, at least, right? Like, no. And I was like, do they mention Adam and Eve? No. But they mentioned like the 12, they mentioned like the 10 commandments, like something, right? No, nothing. I'm like, what? So you're telling me there was Jews living in this city for 200 years and they never mentioned anything about the Bible? Yeah.
And Dylan Tide,
what?
8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat. Glad you made a video regarding Lucifer. They wouldn't dare debate you.
No, some people don't. Some people dare to debate me, just not on certain topics, man. Just certain topics, they just don't want to go there because there's nothing to. There's no wind. You would think they would want to shut me up on this because they can just find. They can go, oh look, Neil,
I found this Babylonian source from 3000 BC, and it mentions Abraham. You're a fraud, and that'd be it. My career would be over with. I would have nothing to. I'd be done. But there's no one wants to take that up. Like inspiring philosophy, not even just historicity of the Bible. Like, what about Christmas, December 25th? That's another topic that I'm very familiar with. And I've been dying to find a debate partner on this because it seems the consensus seems to be that Christmas is December 25th is a Christian thing invented by Christians, and the whole pagan thing is all outdated. Don't listen to that. And I thought that was true for a long time. I was like, I trusted the scholarship. And then I looked into it one time. And I remember this was a long time ago. This is like 5 years ago. Someone left a comment on one of my videos that I wrote, Horus has nothing to do with December 25th. It's made up zeitgeist nonsense. And someone left a comment and was like, I agree, but there is a source from Plutarch that says that Horus was born on the winter solstice. It's like, what? And he left the citation for me, and I looked it up, and I was like, oh, there is some truth to this. Harpocrates is born on the winter solstice, and then come to find out, you have this whole thing about Mithras, Sol Invictus, the sun being born at the winter solstice. There's a whole bunch of shit I talk about this on my channel all the time. Anyways, that's another topic that I'm very passionate about. I think there's way more nuance than what's being told on that subject. So I would love to have love to get like inspiring philosophy to jump on a debate on that topic. That's a fun topic. No one needs to get serious about that topic. There's nothing embarrassing about that topic for anybody to win or lose on. And that would be a cool one, I think. Anyways, I thank you for the super chat. Also, someone just became a member. Thank you for joining, man. Appreciate you. What else are we talking about? Oh, you know what? I wanted to go to Memnon, one of the sources from Memnon. So here we go. This is from Ethiopius. And so as the Amazon Penthesilea arrives to fight with the Trojans. So the this is actually interesting. The Amazonians show up to fight on the side of the Trojans, but against Achilles, who raised Achilles. So then Achilles has to fight against his ex people that he was raised with, right? That's kind of that's a kind of interesting little development there. Daughter of the war god Ares, Thracian stock. She had involuntarily killed Hippolyta. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because here you go. Here's a female character you could have casted. You could have casted a female Amazonian warrior. You know, they should have hired me for casting, bro. I'm telling you, I could have fucking blew people's minds with some of this stuff. You could have had Penthesilea arriving to fight with the Trojans against Achilles and with Memnon, actually. Memnon shows up too. So you have an Amazonian from Thrace to fight with the Trojans. Who else shows up? A battle was fought. She killed large numbers, including Machaon. Dude, this is from the Trojan cycle. This is legit. This is not a modern retelling. This is not a feminist retelling. This is from the ancient Greeks themselves. It's from the Apollodorus library, literally saying there was an Amazonian woman in the Trojan War fucking people up. Hell yeah. Why not? Amazonians, dude, they can fight. It says she dominates the battlefield. Achilles kills her. Achilles comes in and says, all right, get the fuck out of here. And ends this shit. Shut up, biatch. Ends it. But she did her thing for a couple minutes, right? That could have been a cool scene right there. And then all of a sudden, after Achilles turns around, he sees, oh shit, he pissed off Memnon. Maybe Memnon was banging her or something. Maybe they were getting it in. He saw him kill her. And you could have did something. You could have did something. Look at this right here. Achilles kills Thersites after being abused by him and insulted over his love for Penthesilea. So there you go. I didn't even know about that. I didn't even see this part. I don't remember reading this. There was something similar to that happening. The result in a dispute among the Achaeans about the killing of Thersites. Achilles then sails to Lesbos.
Science dropped $5 super chat. If you look at the migration of ancient human species, could it be that religion is just extended tribalism?
Yeah. It's ancestral customs. That's what it is. It's religion is art, music. It's art, music, plays, writing, epic poetry, all rolled together into ancestral culture.
8,619
That's what it is.
Dropped $4.99 super chat. Is Barbello our origin?
Is Barbello our origin? No. Barbello is the name of the god that Jesus is the son of in some of the Gnostic literature. Barbello is like the monad. So that's a Gnostic idea that Barbello is the monadic supreme god above Sophia. And I think it's like Barbello, Christ, and Sophia are like a trinity or some triad or something. So, but yeah, this was a great question right here. Because all religion really is, and this is why I take religion so seriously, because it's everything. It's all culture really is, or all religion really is the sum of a particular culture of people. So Thracian religion is the Thracian culture, music, gods, temples, epics, history, all of that becomes their religion. It becomes a way of life. It becomes their identity. Religion is so important. This is why I look at Christianity so negatively. Because when you look at history, what Christianity did was it essentially erased all of these cultures that have been passed down from father to son and mother to daughter, from century to 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 century. And Christianity comes along and just whitewashes everything into oblivion. Now, don't get me wrong. Christianity itself adopts the same culture that those other cultures are coming out of, but it makes a universalism of it. It makes a universal perennialist way. It tries to unify. It tries to unify all the Old Testament scriptures. It tries to unify, the Platonic philosophy, Pythagorean philosophy, Stoic philosophy, Cynic philosophy. You get like little bits and pieces of everything. You can see little shades of everything in Christianity. Like when you read Paul, from passage to passage, you might find a passage of Paul where he sounds very Stoic. You might find a passage of Paul where he all of a sudden has kind of an Epicurean feel going on. Then you read other passages of Paul and he's very Platonist and holy shit. That's Christianity. So to its strength, because of that, we're able to preserve our sort of identity through that. But to me, that's not legit. It's a knockoff. It's not the real thing is the real thing, right? You don't settle for, well, Christianity preserves some of our great stuff, so why not just settle for that? No, I don't believe in that. I think the real culture is real culture. There is a real British culture. There's a real Italian culture. There's a real Spanish culture. There's a real Greek culture. All that stuff. All that exists. So, thank you for that.
Adullin Tide 8,619 dropped $4.99 super chat. We Catholics don't like evangelicals.
That's true. Yeah. I grew up Catholic, so I know. I actually switched over to evangelicalism for 9 years in my 20s. So I did both. I lived both worlds. So I've had a taste of all different kinds of Christianities. Joined Pentecostal for a little while too. So I've been there. All right. So what was I reading? Oh yeah. So now you could have did something with this, and then it says and then Achilles sails to Lesbos after sacrificing to Apollo, Artemis, and Leto. He is purified from the killing of Odysseus. Oh, killing by Odysseus. He is purified from the killing by Odysseus. Okay.
At Vacan_Pan_Danny B's dropped $5 super chat. Antiochus of Ascalon set the framework for Philo, who set the stage for Simon/Paul. He was a Stoic Platonist.
Absolutely. I've been saying that myself. Antiochus of Ascalon, he's the first Middle Platonist. He's the first person to unify Stoicism with Platonism, but also Pythagorean and Peripatetic school.
And Dylan tied 8,600.
And that's where you get Philo from.
99 cents super chat. Yay.
Gay. Hell yeah. Yeah. So before Philo, and there are people who actually think that Antiochus of Ascalon was the teacher of. Wait, what does he say? I interviewed on my channel. I interviewed what's his name. Here, I'll pull it up. I interviewed him on my channel, and he actually gave a really interesting theory about Philo and where he got his ideas from. And it ties to Antiochus. I know that for sure. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Here it is.
At Dylan tied 8,619 dropped $1.99 super chat. Freemasons get a bad rap.
They do. And a lot of times these Freemasons are just like random dudes that hang out at these little get-togethers. But a lot of them also are like these are deeply spiritual and the reason why I don't necessarily subscribe to it is because it's still, you can't, like, Freemasonry is just Christianity if you think about it. Just Christianity is just open to the other traditions in a symbolic sense. So it likes the symbolism of Osiris. It likes the symbolism of Krishna or whatever. But it's still the centrality of Freemasons is Christianity still, and Judaism, Solomon and stuff like that. So you cannot coexist with Christianity and paganism. They can't coexist. Paganism isn't calling for the eradication of Christianity. It's not part of any inherent doctrine or anything. It's focusing on you and nature and your family and your community and stuff like that. Christianity, though, is inherently like opposing idolatry, quote unquote, and the worship of other. It's part of the program. So what happens is the only one that's going to win is Christianity, because Christianity is the only one that has a system in place that's actively trying to get rid of the other systems. So you can never. So no, Christianity from day one was set up to be the winner, if you want to call it that, because it's the only one playing the game. All the other ones aren't playing any game or trying to win. It's just people and their culture. So people say Christianity won out. Of course it did. It was the only one that was trying to win out. Everyone else was sticking to their communities and stuff. So yeah, Freemasonry is just Christianity. It's not really. I don't know. I agree with you though. It does get a bad rap. So I interviewed John Dillon, beast scholar, and this is what he says.
Then a one and a dyad,
Let me just
a duo of monad and dyad. Pythagoras. is the great figure, in a way, the father of this tradition. A full secret sort of system revealed to the faithful. The origins of the Trinity. Theodorus, he propounds a one and then a one and a dyad, a duo of monad and dyad.
I literally don't know of one Christian in the world besides myself according to Gospel of Philip definition. Watch verse 30 of MY long vid.
Oh shit, you got a video on this? I don't know one Christian in the world beside myself according to the Gospel of Philip definition. Literally don't know one Christian in the world beside myself according to Gospel of Philip definition. Okay. So is that like are you saying like you're a Gnostic, that's your central text, Gospel of Philip? Because that would be fascinating. I'd be interesting to check that out, man. So and yeah, I'll watch the first 30 minutes of your video. I'll check it out. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Ones there. Everyone in the academy knew that there was the one and the indefinite dyad. The tendency to triads, according to Plutarch, goes back to Xenocrates. Immaterial realm, a heavenly realm of Plato, but it's certainly not profound. The spiritual realm, there are little bits of evidence that even in the old academy, people were talking about the substance of the soul and that sort of thing. The Logos is described as the Son. You can find in Philo a trinity of God, God's wisdom, Sophia, and the Logos, intelligible triads and intellectual triads, being life, mind. The middle element of the triad is female. As the Holy Spirit, Ruach of God, is feminine, and magic to its own extent is that in a paradoxical way, it's science. You make the right mixture, and lo and behold, it works. Pharmaca, or what they are putting together often. Theurgy is a kind of Christian sacramental theology. It's important to perform it correctly.
So there's a part in here where he mentions Philo, and he thinks, he's like, I have a theory. He goes, I don't have evidence for this, but he's like, I have a personal theory that Philo was the student of, and I think he says, I forgot who he says. He might have been talking about Philo of Larissa, actually, because he's from 159. I forgot what he said. I think it's over here somewhere.
It's like a do not disturb.
But he says like, I think he says like, no, you know what it is? I remember what it was now. Philo was the student of, the hell is his name again? Aristobulus. That's what it was. And then Aristobulus was a student of Antiochus.
Antiochus of Ascalon. And that's a complicated story there too. It's Antiochus really. And again, there's another man for whom we have not a single line, but we have evidence of his positions in the works of Cicero and to some extent Varro and so forth, but mainly Cicero. And Sextus Empiricus, actually. But Antiochus was initially a student of a chap called Philo of Larissa, who was a student of the last member of the new academy, or the skeptical academy. So if we're thinking about Platonism as a whole, we shouldn't leave them out, really. The skeptical academy of the Hellenistic period. But this sort of culminated with Carneades, who made a cautious return to dogmatism of a sort, by just suggesting that in a provisional sort of way there are things that we know. We know them on a practical level. We may not know them scientifically or absolutely perfectly. Well, he produced a theory of probability. But Antiochus obviously had a kind of brainstorm, broke with his own teacher, Philo, and decided that, in fact, if you went back to not to Plato so much himself, but to the old academy, the works of Xenocrates, the works particularly of the last head of the old academy, Polemon, who again is a man we know very little about, but we have a list of some of his works. As Antiochus sees it, Polemon was the teacher of Zeno of Citium, who founded the Stoic school.
You know what's
And
interesting about that is
Zeno,
Zeno was going to two different schools at the same time, because in other sources it says that Zeno was the star student of Crates, the cynic. So, but it makes sense though. It makes sense because Zeno's school of Stoicism has a lot. It's like cynicism and some sort of like Platonism going on at the same time.
in Antiochus's view, took teachings of the academy
See,
as Polemon propounded them, and developed them in a dogmatic way.
What do you mean by in a dogmatic way? You mean like they have these axioms that they believe are true, and everything revolves around these? Is that what you mean?
Yes, I mean he declared that virtue is the only good, and that the what would be regarded in Platonism as the lower goods, the goods of the body and the external goods, are not to be accounted goods. They are to be accounted indifferent. But then he backed off a bit and suggested, or maintained that
there's something very profound about that dogma. The only dogma is that virtue is the only good. And just think about what that produces in a man's heart that lives that way. When your only dogma is that virtue is the only good. And that's it. That's the only thing you care about, is being a virtuous, good human being. It produces the effect of making you into a good person. Like I just find that very profound how he says that.
but Platonism as good.
Is that what you mean?
Yes, I mean he declared that virtue is the only good, and that the what would be regarded in Platonism as the lower goods, the goods of the body and the external goods, are not to be accounted goods. They are to be accounted indifferent. But then he backed off a bit and suggested, or maintained that positive aspects of the lower goods can be regarded as preferred indifference. Sickness is a dispreferred indifference.
Before Antiochus, there was everything was more Socratic. You think more up for debate? Is that where the difference lies?
I see a certain amount of politics entering into this. As I say, I think Platonism was created by initially responding to attacks from Aristotle. Skeptical Platonism, beginning with Archelaus, who was also a pupil of Polemon's and succeeded him as head of the academy, was a reaction to Stoic dogmatism, because they were putting them out of business, although the Stoics had kind of taken over.
They were the cool kid on the block.
Yeah.
What were the Stoics dogmatic about?
Ethics, just the preponderance of virtue.
So this gets brought into the fold by the so-called Middle Platonists, Antiochus of Ascalon, and they take this Stoic doctrine of virtue, arete, and they sort of add it to the already existing Platonic doctrine.
They said that's our doctrine. That's academic doctrine, but the Stoics, Antiochus tended to accuse the Stoics, Zeno and Chrysippus, of going too far in downgrading the secondary goods. Said we are not Epicureans, we're not lovers of pleasure or anything, but we recognize that health, a modest degree of wealth, and good fortune with our friends and so on are goods. All this business about preferred indifference is bullshit. I think Antiochus said they're trying to.
So you have like 7 major schools. You have the academy, which is Plato's the Platonists. You have well, I should go back, because before that you have 3 older traditions. You have the Ionian school, you have the Eleatic school, which is, the Pythagoreans, I guess, would come out of that would be a 2-headed monster,
And then you have the atomist, the natural school. And then after Plato, you have 7 major schools, which is you have Platonists, Pythagoreans, Stoics, Epicureans, Skeptics, founded by Pyrrhus of Epirus. That's 5. Peripatetic school, which is Aristotelian school. And which one am I missing? Platonists, Pythagoreans, Peripatetic, Epicurean, Stoic, Skeptic, and what am I missing? I know there's what am I missing again? Stoic, Epicurean, Peripatetic, Platonist, Pythagorean, Epicurean, Skeptic. That's it. 7. And then, okay, the only reason why I'm bringing that up is because those 7 schools pretty much get unified by Antiochus of Ascalon. So what a lot of people say is they'll say Antiochus of Ascalon, he unified Stoicism with Platonism, and he started Middle Platonism. And that's true. That's the mostly true. But if you actually read the fragments of Antiochus of Ascalon through Cicero, which I've done, you find out, wait a minute, he's also unifying Aristotle. He's also unifying the skeptics. He's a skeptic too. Or he's at least responding to the skeptics and Pythagoras. So he's like a unifier of traditions.
2374 has become initiated. Hey from me and my cat Lil Girly.
Nice. Tell a little girl I said, hey, what's up? I was gonna bring my dog up here, but she looks like she's sleeping, so I'm not gonna bother, I guess. Actually, she just looked at me. Come here. Come here. She's just chilling. All right, go back to sleep. So, thank you for being a member for 3 months. Appreciate you. Yeah, the point that I was making was Antiochus of Ascalon. He really does is he takes Platonism and he unifies it with the other schools of thought. And he doesn't. It's not that he just takes them all and makes them all one thing. He rejects the things he doesn't like about Epicureanism. He rejects the things he doesn't like about Stoicism. He rejects what he doesn't like about Pythagoreanism, but he includes the things that he does. He'll say, okay, the Stoics are right about this one thing. We should follow that because they're correct. We don't want to be wrong. So even though we think Plato's superior, we're the superior school, Zeno was right about this one thing. We should include that. Pythagoras was right about this one thing. We should include that. Aristotle has a point here. We should include that too. That's Middle Platonism, really, that's what it does. And then Neoplatonism, I mean, I would even argue, and this is going to sound very simple, but that's kind of like what happens again, is you get another, through Ammonius, his name is Ammonius, the teacher of Plotinus. People say Plotinus invented Neoplatonism, but I don't think so. I think it's an evolution of ideas, and then by the time you get to Plotinus, you can see a clear. Okay, you can see theurgy, you can see the doctrines of Plotinus, but you can argue that it's Ammonius that invented it. But I don't even think he invented it. I think he's adopting the schools before him, passing them down in a certain way.
Beam 2374 dropped $5 super chat. Hello, sweet puppy. Dog emoji. What Greek god had a pooch as a sidekick?
Hercules did. Hercules' dog. And Hades. So it's the same dog, actually. Cerberus. He goes to Hades. He becomes the dog of the underworld.
So Hercules' dog discovers purple dye. This is a famous painting. Look at he's got purple all over his face. There's an ancient myth about Hercules' dog in Phoenicia, which is Tyre, and he's walking down the coast of Tyre, and he finds this shell, and he licks it, and there's a purple dye in there. So that's the story right there. And then I believe this is the same dog that later on becomes the underworld dog, I think. If I'm not mistaken. I think it's the same one. Or no, maybe not. Cerberus. The Hound of Hades. Cerberus is probably known for his capture. Oh no, he's captured by Heracles. That's why I was thinking of Heracles. So it's not the same dog. Sarvara is one of the epithets of the dogs of Yama. I did not know that. So you can see this ancient Indo-European layer. Whenever you find something that lines up in Hinduism and Greek mythology or Roman mythology, you know it's old. You know it's like from like 4,000, 2,000 BC or something. You know? Whenever you see that line up, when you see Hinduism and Latin stuff lining up, you're like, you know that's damn old. So, anyways, I think that clip is pretty interesting. I haven't seen this video in a while. This is one of my favorite interviews of all time, by the way. Was John Dillon. He's just great.
Elevate themselves a little above us, but it doesn't. He rather jeers at Chrysippus at one point, as reported by Cicero. It says pounding a philosophy which would suit a pure soul that wasn't in a body, but he seems to be disregarding the fact that we're actually in bodies and in a physical job as the.
It was Eudorus. Remember I told you he watch this.
The house philosopher.
Ready for this?
The Trinity. You find not so much in Eudorus. I have a fantasy about Eudorus that he may have got a job as the house philosopher.
Oh, that was horrible. Horrible timing. So he says, I have a fantasy about Eudorus. So he told me privately, he doesn't. I was like, do you have a source for that? He said, no. He just thinks based on his own educated conjecture. He's the guy who knows this shit. So he's like, based on my own educated conjecture, I think that Eudorus was the house philosopher Philo learned under.
Philo of Alexandria. I have got much in Eudorus. I have a fantasy about Eudorus that he may have got a job as the house philosopher of Philo of Alexandria's father. And
father. So that makes sense. It makes sense. Philo's father was taught by Eudorus, and this could explain why they have so much in common.
May have got a job as the house philosopher of Philo of Alexandria's father. And this could absolutely no evidence of this.
So that's no evidence of this.
That would be fascinating. Well, no, because Philo is a proto-Christian in many ways.
Philo is a key figure again. Yes, in many ways. And I mean, you can find in Philo a trinity of God's wisdom, Sophia, and the Logos.
Yeah, it's right there. It's right there in Philo. I mean, this is not like scholars do know this, but I feel like it's not emphasized or talked about enough.
No, and he doesn't problematize it. But he does introduce, interestingly, a female principle at the core of things.
what you find in Valentinianism. The Valentinian triad had this.
Sophia falls, and that sort of thing. And of course, Philosophia does not. Various passages, the Logos is described as the Son.
Yeah, and Philo actually says that the heaven will be inherited by the Logos, something along those lines. The successor of heaven will be the Logos, he says, which is like that's like John, right? It's like that John's drawing from that, obviously.
I think so. Well, similar. I mean, in the beginning was the Logos, yes, and so forth. Yes. I think he was.
So yeah, that was a great interview, and I just pulled up Eudoris's page just to show you who he's talking about, and look, you could even see they have him on here, John Dillon, the guy I interviewed. He's literally in the Wikipedia page. Although Eudoris considers this to be a Pythagorean doctrine, modern scholars such as John Dillon consider this to likely originate with Eudoris based on the Pythagorean fragments recorded by Alexander Polyhistor. So you can see, look at this. You look at this right here. This is exactly what I was just saying. Eudoris combined Platonist, Pythagorean, and Stoic ideas in his philosophy. And it's funny, people neglect Aristotle too. They literally took Aristotle extremely serious. And they're unifying all the schools. And you can see it says right here, it says he believed that he found an apt definition of common goal of Pythagoras, Socrates, and Plato. In physics, Eudoris's account of first principles postulates the existence of the highest principle called the One above the Pythagorean monad and dyad, which Eudoris called God. So this is interesting because this God is outside of being. The monad was a being, I think. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the supreme being. You can see it right there. This one is like beyond that. They're like it's like a super God, like God of gods, the highest God of all time. And inconceivable how high this God is, but that's what they're trying to go for. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to revolutionize how you believe about religion. And it's funny because this is right before Christianity's on the scene. It makes a lot, and this is right at the time when Judaism. I mean, this is like a little bit after that, but like I'm gonna say, like this is right around the time when the Maccabees and Judaism, and like I guess this is a little after that, but still, it's not that long after that. You can see this is like around this time, monotheism is like exploding, dude, exploding at this time. Eudoris considers this to be a Pythagorean doctrine, blah, blah, blah. Look at it, and it says, in logic, Eudoris rejected Aristotle's theories of categories, preferring to derive them from the old academy. So that he's a Platonist, Platonic realist, Platonic universalist, I mean. Eudoris is mentioned by Alexander Aphrodiseus in his commentary on Aristotle's metaphysics. Simplicius refers to him as a... Look at this. Look at this. This is how crazy this is. We just heard that he rejected Aristotle's theories of categories, but he's literally being called a peripatetic philosopher by Simplicius. That he had written on Aristotelian categories. So even though he rejects parts of Aristotle, he adopts Aristotle elsewhere. So really what Middle Platonism is, it's a unification of all of the Greek schools. That's what it is. And you might be thinking, well, not Epicurean thought. No, you'll be surprised when you read guys like Maximus of Tyre and they start citing the Epicureans and they start saying like, oh, Epicurus is right about this, and like there's just certain things that they take on that they believe are worthy of consideration, which makes sense. I mean, this is like what do you expect? I guess this is the time period that Nietzsche hated. This is what Nietzsche thought of as the down spiraling of
of the world. Nietzsche liked when these were all separate. If you read Nietzsche's first book ever, Philosophy and the Tragic Age of the Greeks, he talks about this golden age of philosophy and not just philosophy, but like satire and plays and what he specifically says, it's a time when schools were separate, where some people thought water was the first principle and others thought fire was the first principle. And you can see Nietzsche really loves that multiplicity of thought. I agree. I do agree with that. I have a problem with too much perennialism. I think there's something unnatural about that. There's something unnatural about trying to unify everything. Not everything's meant to be unified. Things are meant to be in their own places. You understand what I'm saying? Not everything's meant to be all one. You know, people aren't all meant to be one. You know, populations of people aren't all meant to be one. Doesn't mean there's not coexistence. Doesn't mean everyone needs to hate each other. But it's just, you see what I'm saying? Like, sometimes things need to be left alone in their own categories. There has to be a multiplicity of things in the world. So this like hypermonism stuff, it can be, I don't know. I go back and forth on this. These are the things that that keep me up at night. Seriously, I think about this shit all day. It's interesting though. One of the things I also wanted to show was back to the Trojan cycle. So we just left off with Memnon joins the fight, son of Dawn. That's a pretty sick name right there. Memnon, son of Dawn. Wearing armor made by Hephaestus. Accompanying a large force of the Ethiopians. Arrives to assist the Trojans. Thetis prophesies to her son about the encounter with Memnon. When battle is joined, Antilochus is killed by Memnon. But when Achilles kills Memnon, and Dawn confers immortality upon him after prevailing on Zeus. So then Memnon becomes a god. Why can't you have this in the fucking movie, dude? Achilles puts the Trojans to flight and chases them into the city, but is killed by Paris and Apollo. Isn't that crazy? So when Achilles chops off the head of Apollo's statue, he basically signed his death warrant, because after the war, after the Trojans lose, Achilles, he puts the Trojans to flight, chases them to the city, but then Paris and Apollo kill him. And it's interesting that Paris in this version, I shouldn't even say this version. This is the epic cycle right here. This is the official doctrine. This is the official canon right here. This is part of the Homeric cycle. This is in between Iliad and Odyssey. This is what's not in the Iliad. It's not in the Odyssey. This is in between. Paris, with the help of Apollo, ends up avenging his brother Hector and kills Achilles. At the Scaean Gates, he is shot by Alexander. That's Paris' name. Paris is Alexander. Now, I want to show you something fascinating about Alexander Paris in a second. Let me just finish reading this. He is shot by Alexander and Apollo in the ankle. A fierce battle develops over his body, in which Ajax kills Glaucus. He hands over Achilles' armor to be taken to the ships. As for the body, he takes up and carries it towards the ships, with Odysseus fighting off the Trojans. Then they bury Antilochus and lay out the body of Achilles. Thetis comes with the Muses and her sisters and laments her son. And presently Thetis snatches her son from the pyre and conveys him to the White Island. The Black Sea, obviously. Oh. So that's where the Amazons live. That's interesting. When the Achaeans have raised the grave mound, they organized an athletic contest in which Menelaus wins with the chariot race, Diomedes in the sprint, Ajax in the discus. So isn't that crazy? They have like a little Olympic festival going on after this is over. And a quarrel arises between Odysseus and Ajax over the arms of Achilles. Then it just got some more fragments. So, because we lost the original sources. But listen to this. So, Paris Alexander. You know what that name is based on? So, this is why I want people to understand something right now. The reason why I'm serious about the casting, and I don't think this is just some fantasy that we should just like do whatever we want with, unless you want to do a total new adaptation, fine. Like I'm in the middle about this, about how adaptations should be, because you can adapt things, you can take it to a whole nother level. But if you want to adapt, it to keep the Trojan War. That's a historical thing. You're like, really? The Trojan War is historical? I do believe so. So there's a Hittite fragment, this one right here. It's a clay tablet, and it's a treaty between Alexandru and Muwatalli. You're like, Alexandru? What's that? Is that the Alexander? Yes, it is. Alexandru is a Trojan name that is adopted by Greek. Alexander is named after Paris. Yes, the Paris who kidnapped Helen of Troy was a real person. Now, I know what I'm saying here is not scholarly consent. I'm going beyond good, credible. This is just me talking now. This is just me spitballing. This is not you're not going to get this in a history book, although you might have some person comment on this, that it's a possibility or something. But the name Alexandru is the name of a real prince from Wilusa. You know what Wilusa is, right? That's Troy. So the real Troy, the historical Troy, you know what I mean? The historical Troy, Wilusa, or Ilios, where the word Iliad comes from, Wilios, Iliad, or Wiliad, right? That's the treaty of a Hittite king, and his name's Alexander, which is the name of Paris. Paris's name is Alexander. You just saw that. I just showed you that. And it says Alexander was the successor of a Kukuni, although it's not known if he's the immediate successor, right? But here's what we know. What we know is royal ancestry says that Alexander had come to power by other means, so that Alexander is not necessarily a blood relation. This has been taken as a hint that he may have been an early Greek ruler called Alexander, and he has been associated with Homer's Alexandros of Ilios, who is better known as Paris of Troy. This is uncertain, admittedly, since Alexander lived at least a half a century before the historical period associated with the Trojan War. But I don't think this is a problem, in my opinion, because in my opinion, this person right here could be the basis of the character that's later adopted for this real Trojan War. They both can be real at the same time and be from different eras, even 500 years apart, possibly. Those two things can be true at the same time. Just like the Hyksos are real people who left Egypt, but are not necessarily the Israelites. So you have real Semitic people in history who were in Egypt, who got expelled, but they're not the Israelites. You know what I'm saying? So this is like a similar situation, in my opinion. You have a real Alexander, and I've said this before, I do think the authors of Exodus are looking back at the Hyksos and basing the story, even though it's not a historical exodus of millions of Hebrews leaving Egypt. I think that they're making mythology out of the fact that the Hyksos were expelled. They're making up their own mythology. So I think what's going on here is you have Alexander, a real king, who's famous and well known, and his name is passed down from generation to generation, makes it all the way to Homer, and so does the Trojan War. But those two things are so distant in time from Homer that they sort of get lumped together. They sort of get brought together into one thing. And there's also other influences for the Homer's Iliad. The Sargon epics, the Hittite. There's a Hittite epic that's very much close to the Trojan War. It's another story that's adopted. So I think there's a lot of mimesis happening here. So it says the name Alexandros, which is not confirmed Anatolian Anamastika, is probably a transcription of the Greek Alexandros. And if so, this would be the most early evidence of the name. One of three. Now, this is the kicker to me. This is the absolute kicker. You guys got to hear this. One of three gods guaranteeing the terms of the treaty on the side of Alexander is a storm god of the army. And what is his name? Apollonius. Apollo. What does Homer say? Who does Homer say is the god of Paris and the Trojans? Apollo. Apollo is against the Greeks. Remember that? He's against the Greeks in the Iliad, and he's on the side of the Trojans. He's the Trojan god. Well, it turns out that in this particular source, this particular Hittite source, Alexander's god is Apollo, Apollonios. Apollo is portrayed in the Iliad as the foremost divine champion of the Trojans, the god who helped Paris kill Achilles. In the story you just heard that I just read for you. I was just reading the Ethiopius. And sure enough, Achilles gets killed by Paris with the help of his god, Apollonius, the god of the Trojans, dude. If you're Apollonian watching this, you're probably zooted right now hearing this. Like, this is some crazy shit right here. Look at this. Apollonius, the name of the god attested in the Hittite treaty. This is the ancient Indo-European peoples of the Bronze Age, the first people in recorded history to discover how to use iron. So, like, the most technologically advanced people in the Bronze Age, technically. I mean, seriously. They just weren't as populous as the Egyptians and Babylonians. They were less populous, but they were more advanced. They had iron 600 years before everyone else did. I think it's like 600, 500 years. Let me see. Let me look that up. Who was the first to have iron? Was the first to have iron? I should say iron weapons. Iron weapons, not iron. What? I don't know what's going on with my Google search right now. Hittites. Yep, Hittites. It says early use, meteoritic iron. Long before the development of smelting technology, the Hittites innovated iron. Roughly 1500 to 1200 BC are credited with the first to develop advanced furnaces and smelting techniques. So look at these fucking worshipers of Apollo out there in Anatolia. Modern day Turkey. Turkey. They were these Apollo worshipers. They were fucking doing their thing, dude. Isn't that awesome? He's a god imported into the Greek pantheon from the Hittites. That's what people say. So, I think that's fascinating. I love that. I just think this whole entire Alexander thing is just crazy to me. Oh, there's another Hittite king who's they think might be based on, or they think the character what's his name? Who's the Trojan king? What's his name? Priam. I think there's a Hittite Priam. Let me see if I can find it. Hittite Priam. So there's a dude named Piyama Radu from a Tawagalata letter. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
At Vacan_Pan_Danny B's dropped $2 super chat. To destroy cause is to create ingots, irons.
Yep, absolutely. Well said. So the Tawagala letter is a fragmentary diplomatic correspondence between the Hittite royal archives dating to the 13th mention and the king Hattusili, in which the Hittite ruler addresses the king of the Ahiyawa, which is what the Achaeans are, which are the Greeks in the Iliad, the Achaeans, likely in reference to Mycenaean Greece, requesting extradition of the renegade warlord Piyamaradou, and referencing prior hostilities over Western Anatolia region of Wilusu, now resolved through peace. That sounds a lot like Priam right here. It says this letter is preserved on clay tablets, discovered at the Hittite capital of Hattusa, offers ghosts of the Bronze Age. The document details Piyamaradou's activities, including raids supported by the Ahiyawan forces in areas like the Luka lands, which literally means wolf people. And then it says the ambush involving his brother. It also praises the recipient's brother. Let me see if I can find where. Let me see. Piyama Radu is depicted as a renegade warlord, a persistent troublemaker who has investigated revolts and raids against the Hittite interest, allying with local rulers and operating with apparent support from Ahiyawa to undermine vassal territory such as Wilusa. His name is of Luwian origin, likely means gift, suggesting given by the gods. Huh.
At Onyx Rocky 2 you dropped $5 super chat. There is a girl named Fig Tree. She's an Aegean archaeology expert who did a great video on this a month ago. Confirms everything you're saying.
Really? Fig Tree. Aegean archaeology expert who did a great video on this. I'll have to check that out. Sounds interesting. Wait, is this the Priam guy or no? Is this even the Priam guy? No, this isn't even the right one. There's someone else. I don't know. That one sounded pretty interesting, but I don't think that's the guy. Well, actually, no, maybe that is the guy. Maybe that is the guy. Because the wiki page right here says the identification of him. And then down here it says, has been conjectured to correspond to the archetype embodied in the legendary Priam of Troy in the Iliad. Konstantios Kompanias suggests that the Greek oral tradition remembering Piyamaradou's exploits served as the basis for, this is what I just said, for later stories about Achilles in the epic cycle. So this is actually, so the story you described, the warlord who's getting in trouble, who's kind of a renegade, that sounded like Achilles. They're saying that the story itself gets applied to Achilles, but I guess like him being a king is like where Priam comes out of it. I don't know. That's kind of interesting though. It's kind of interesting that's how that makes a lot of sense, actually. That's possible. You got another guy named Piyama Kuruntu.
At Science dropped $5 super chat. Is the Odyssey fiction?
The Odyssey is mythological. Does that mean it's fiction? It means we don't know if it's exactly historical. We don't know. Could it be based on a real thing? Could it be based on a real guy who had to travel out of war and go home and find his wife and deal with these suitors? Yeah, I sure. It's not out of the question. Do we know that's what happened though? No, we don't know that's what happened. We can't say that. So it's mythological. It's legendary. It's a legendary story. It's a legendary story based on some true history, which is that Troy's a real place, that there really was wars breaking out between Troy and Greece. Like those are real. It sort of reflects the end of the Bronze Age too. The Greeks are like the sea peoples. You know what I mean? The Achaeans are the sea peoples. The Trojans are the end of the. I'm not saying they are the Hittites, but they're like sort of like outside of the domain of the Hittites. You know what I mean? They're over here. There's Troy right there, and they're sort of in the domain of Hatti and Arzawa. So you know what I mean? And Luca, and then you got the Greeks over here. So they're kind of in the middle. Athenai, Mycenae, Pylos, Knossos. Knossos is super old. It goes back to like 7,000 BC. Uru. Habiru. So this is an interesting thing. The Apiru or the Habiru, these are like renegade people, or they're like nomadic renegades. They're like very low class people. And then the name Habiru ends up being somewhat related to the name Hebrew. It's not the same people one to one. It's kind of like the Hyksos. They're not the same people as the Israelites. But what happens is, see these people Shashu right here? These are another Semitic people. They're the worshippers of Yahweh, the oldest worshippers of Yahweh in the world. And the Hyksos are expelled in the 16th century BCE. By the 14th century BCE, you start hearing about these Shashu people right outside the border of Egypt, and they're worshippers of Yahweh. And they show up in history right after the Hyksos are gone. And it's like one after another. The Hyksos are gone, the Shashu appear, and then the Shashu are also called in some sources, they're called Habiru or Hapiru. So there's a connection between the Shashu and there's a connection between the Hapiru, and these are Semitic Yahweh worshippers. Not all the Habiru are Shashu. It's one of those things that not all Habiru are Shashu, but all Shashu are Habiru. That type of thing. And what happens is those people become the basis of like Israelite religion. And it's not that simple either. You got to think about the Canaanite native religion too plays a big role. So you got Canaanites, you got Shashu, you got, you know what I mean? But that's what's going on at the same time as the Trojan War. It's all happening at the same time. You're seeing all these things taking place that end up being major developments for future history, you know? I'm trying to think of what else I wanted to show you guys. So I showed you Memnon. I showed you Aerobates.
At Ride Tillack dropped $7 Australian and 99 cents super chat. We need Neil as a movie director. It's time to get two Greek sources sorted out, man.
Man, I'll just do the casting. I don't know how to direct, but let me cast. Let me pick who should do the roles. I'll be fair too. I'm not going to sit here and just, I'll make everyone happy. I know I could do it. I know I could be the guy to make everyone fucking happy. If one person can do it, I think I could do it. I don't know. We'll see how the movie comes out, Like I said, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't judge it too much. But the whole this is bothering me stuff the more I think about it. The taking Achilles out of the story and changing his role for Sinon, who's not even a major character at all. And not even in the Odyssey. I guess he is the cousin of Odysseus. Okay. I guess he does. You can work him in there like that. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. But my whole thing is that I've been saying throughout this video is if you're going to incorporate stuff from the Aeneid, why can't you incorporate stuff from the Ethiopias? Why not? You're willing to add Aeneid scenes. Why can't you add Ethiopia scenes? I do think that if your adaptation of the Trojan War or the Odyssey involves Helen of Troy. Helen of Troy is a character. This is a historical character, and I know people are going to go, "What, Neil? What, you lost your mind?" It is. I'll show you what I mean right now. Who's the first history book in Greece, in Greek sources? Who's the first history book in Greek sources? Herodotus. What does Herodotus say in Book 1, Chapter 1? Herodotus the Halicarnassian has learnt this inquiry, blah, 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 blah. What does he say in the first chapter? He says, you got the Persians, you got the Phoenicians, you got the Egyptians, you got the Greeks. And then he says, let me tell you how the Trojan War started. Ready for this? This, they say about the Persians, was how Io came to Egypt. According to them, was the first wrong that was done. Next, according to their tale, certain Greeks landed at Tyre in Phoenicia and carried off the king's daughter Europa. These Greeks must, I suppose, have been Cretans. So far then, the account between them stood balanced. So one girl was taken and another girl was taken between the Greeks and the Persians, right? Or I'm sorry, Phoenicians. And then the Greeks were guilty of a second wrong. They sailed in a longship at the area of Colchians, the river Phasis, and what do? They kidnapped Medea. This is a history book. And the Colchian king sent to Herod to demand reparation for the robbery. The Greeks replied that they had refused reparation for the abduction of Argyle Io. Neither would make any. So then, the second generation after Alexandrius, of son of Priam, from the Iliad and the Odyssey, having heard this tale, was minded to win himself a wife out of Hellas by ravishment, for he was persuaded that the Greeks had no reparation, so he carried off Helen.
At Ride Tillack dropped $7 and 99 cents super chat. What's an epic story from the ancient Greek sources that you reckon will make a good movie or series?
Oh my God. Great question. you can just, you know what you can do? You can make right here. It's right in front of me, actually. Apian. Apian's history. So what you can do with Apian as the basis for your right, maybe you're writing a what is it called? A state, what do you call it? A play or a script? What is it called again? It's not called a book. It's called something else. Your script. If you're writing your script, you would use this as the basis. The reason why I'm pointing to this is you can make an HBO show, like a 10-season long show, starting with roughly 100 BC, or maybe before that, like the time of Sulla, Pompey, Marius, and those guys, right?
Aldebaner dropped £1.99 super chat. The Aeneid by Robert Eggers would be a masterpiece.
Yeah, that would be. If he did the Aeneid, that would be a masterpiece. I agree with that. Thank you for the super chat. Now, here's what I would do if I was to write a script. Shit. Hold on, let me fix my camera. I'm going to give you a good answer, I promise. Okay. So, here's what you can do. Why is it so bright all of a sudden? All right. So you get Apian's history. You can also use Plutarch to help you out too, because Plutarch has all the histories as well. And you start off around, 120 BC. So right around 120 BC, you have the Gracchi brothers and the reforms, and you start to get like military ranking people taking over and become imperators and dictators in the military sense. So the title of imperator used to be a military title for when someone was outside of Rome. They needed power. They needed the like, how the president has the power to like send a nuke. The imperator was like that, where they had military power. They would be, so if you were outside of Rome, outside of the city of Rome, and you had your own military that was under your you were there, they were under your, like you're under you. You had the power to like go and travel and go and do what you wanted with your military. You were an emperor, but it was only outside of Rome, and it was for military purposes. So you didn't have to run into issues legally as being, getting too much of a dictator. So you would start off in the 120s BC, and you would progress the story as you get through Sulla, Marius, and their battles. You could have a great first season with like Sulla and Marius, both starting off as co-soldiers together. And then like Sulla rising up against Marius and defeating him. And then you eventually get into like Caesar, and then you eventually get into Spartacus, the story of Spartacus. Pompey the Great comes in, and they have to track down Spartacus. And then you start to get into the 90s, 80s BCE, the rise of Sulla. He becomes in control of the whole government. So what happens at that point is they start to take on Greece. And then you have the Macedonian Wars, and you have Mithridates VI, the Poison King.
He's your villain.
At Harrisonville
Perfect villain.
4879 dropped $5 super chat. I saw the Nolan Odyssey and Achilles wasn't in it.
Yeah, I told you. That's what I said. They took him out completely. He's out of the story. It's just Sinon. Sinon takes on the role of Achilles in Hades. So instead of Achilles being in Hades talking to Odysseus, and like I haven't even seen it, I already know this because I saw the clips. Instead of going down into Hades and talking to Achilles like it does in the book, talks to Sinon. So I don't know what happened there. So you can start getting into another season where Mithridates, this Greek king in the east who's ruling the kingdom of Pontus, starts to clap back against Rome and starts to really fuck them up. And then you would end the show, the season finale would have to end in 63 BCE when Caesar Augustus is born. He's not Caesar Augustus yet, he's Octavian. But it would be like he's literally born on September, and it's right at the end of the campaigns where Pompey the Great defeats and the death of Mithridates VI, the Poison King, and all of the Mediterranean for the first time in history is now under Rome. Isn't that funny that literally Augustus is born exactly at the time when Rome, for the first time ever, conquered the entire Mediterranean? It was like it was meant to be. It was like now Pompey and Caesar helped him do it too, and Sulla and those guys and Marius, they conquered North Africa. Caesar conquers Gaul, which is after that, but still, the point is, I'm like, the Mediterranean, the sea, the whole sea is in control of the Roman navy. And it happened right at the time when they finally complete it and they finally get Egypt and Judea as part of their imperial map. Augustus is born right at that time. It was like a divine time for him to be born. It was perfect timing. Like, this is your empire, kid. And you are the divine child. The empire is yours. All you got to do is become of age and we'll give it to you. And then this is what happens. He literally takes on the name Gaius Julius Caesar after his father, his adopted father. He literally becomes Julius Caesar. It's a pretty cool story. You can make that a whole entire HBO show. You can do like 10 seasons long. And you might even need more. You might even need 20 seasons to exhaust it all. How much shit happens in that period. You can even go back to Hannibal or something. I don't know. That might be too far. The point I'm saying is you could do a show like that. That's what I would do. But that's mostly Roman. I mean, Apian is Greek. That's why this is a Greek text, Apian. But if I wanted to stick to just Greek, like mythology, that's a good question. If I wanted to stick to Greek, what would I do? Let me see. Let me look up here. You can do. You can do like a Euripides Bacchae movie. That would be a crazy movie. That would have to be like you would have to do like a director that's like really meta. You would have to do actually Nolan might even be able to pull off a Bacchae movie. It'd have to be dark though. The Bacchae is a tragedy. It doesn't end good. It ends with a lot of crazy psychedelic drunkenness or death, and that could be a crazy movie to do. What else we got? What's another one? Ancient Greek. You could do a Hercules movie, like a real Hercules movie with the 12 labors. And you can do a really hot, like not a cartoon type of shit, like a really rated R Hercules thing. Holy shit, that would be good. Prometheus. You're kidding me? Prometheus, the Prometheus trilogy. Hell yeah. Something like that. Obviously, the Argonautica is a big one. The Argonauts. It's a huge epic. You would need an HBO series for that one, though. The Argonautica. You couldn't do that in a 3-hour setting, I don't think. Maybe you could probably maybe squeeze it in 3 hours, but I would probably prefer that to be a series, at least a couple seasons, to do the Argonautica. Let's see. The Aeneid. Oh well, that's Latin actually. But that would be a good one. The Aeneid. That'd be a great story to do. I wonder if you could do some like Hesiodic, the gods, like just not even history at all, just like the gods, which would be like Hesiod's Theogony, works and days, how Zeus defeats Saturn, or Kronos, and how Kronos defeats Uranus, and how like there's a succession of gods leading down to Dionysus or something. I don't know. That would be a good one. That could be something epic too. But I don't know how that'd be hard to pull off because that you would need some dialogue. You would need something. You need a story. You would need to do something with it. You can't just like throw out just like scenes. Oh, the Thebaid is another one. The Thebaid. This is another one you can make a film out of. Super rich and dense poetry. This is also part of the cycle. The Homeric cycle. The Thebaid. It's one of the. This is the 8th one that I forgot about earlier. Remember I said there's 8 books. I was thinking I said 7. I couldn't think of the 8th one. This is the 8th one. The Thebaid. It's attributed to Homer. And you can make a film out of this all day. It's actually like super. Well, we lost the Greek one. If you go to like the Latin one, we know a lot about it. It's like it's just filled with dense mythological tropes regarding like mythical history. Basically, it like mentions all the gods and their what they're like. Their actions and what they're doing.
To Australian dollars and 99 cents super chat. Amazon's women and Greeks war.
The Amazonians are the Amazonians are women. They're just like a women only. The way they kept supposedly the way they kept their population without men is they would send women out once a year to go get pregnant and come back. That's how they kept their. And then if it was a male, they would. Well, it's just different versions of the story. If it was a male, some versions said they would like tear him apart and eat it. But other versions said that, like, there's a Stoic version where it says that they would just the boy would be sent back the next year, and they would just be given over to the men. But yeah, there's reports of the Amazonian tribes, and not just one place, a couple places too. So that's an interesting thing too. See, like I'm going to show you what I mean by it's what I mean. So the first book of the Thebaid starts off with Oedipus, and it goes through Oedipus, and then you get the Council of the Gods, Jupiter. This would be a crazy scene, a feast in honor of the god Apollo. Like, how would you film this? This would be like super epic. Like trying to figure out how to film all this. Book 4, Argos should march against Thebes, and then you could have a war going on with the gods and the people. See, notice how it's got Tiresias from Homer. It's the same stuff. So you would just do this battle of Thebes. This is why it's called the Thebaid. Theseus. Oh yeah, there you go. You got Theseus. You could do a whole movie about Theseus and Medusa.
or Perseus, and you know what I mean? Theseus and the Minotaur. You know what I mean? And then you could do Perseus and Medusa. The Minotaur. There you go. The Theseus and the Minotaur movie. That's the whole movie right there. There's so much shit you could do with Greek, man. There's so much out there.
Still dropped $1.99 super chat. Greco-Egyptian Inaros cycle.
Yes. That's another thing. The Greco-Egyptian literature itself, Serapis, all that stuff, Isis, which brings you to like Apuleius, who writes a whole story about turning into a donkey and then he gets saved by Isis. Like, imagine making a film out of that. I mean, that could be a nice little 2-hour, 1.5 hour movie or something. Like, you don't need that much time for that one. But you could make something good out of that for sure. You know? So, yeah. I think this is a fun little live stream to do. And I'm gonna visit this back. I'll probably go live at least once or twice more before Wednesday. I'm going to try to do more lives this week. So I see the movie on Wednesday. It's so far away. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then so I feel like it's like I feel like by the time I watch the movie and then talk about it again, you guys are all going to be like, "We already heard that. We already know that." It's like I'm going to be old news, but at least I got to jump on here and talk about some of the things that I can address now without having to wait, you know. So I hope that was good for you guys. Trying to think what else. That's pretty much it for me. I'm gonna call it a night. Appreciate you guys. Appreciate everyone that super chatted. There's so many of you guys super chatted tonight. This has been awesome, dude. Bach and Pan, of course. Appreciate you. Thought for Fire. Appreciate you. Doll, nice meeting you. I don't think you've ever seen you till today, but you were I really appreciate you tonight. Psyop Science, appreciate you. Eddie, of course, man. Eddie, thank you, like always. Eric Schaefer, thank you. S. Mill still, thank you. Thanks for joining. What else? Who else have we got? Gage. Of course, Gage is always in the chat. Good to see you, Gage. Pink Beam, good to see you too. Ride Tillich, thank you. Aldor, thank you. Harris, thank you. And that's it. Thank you everyone for donating. I will see you soon as possible. Maybe tomorrow night. Maybe tomorrow night. Yeah, let's try to do it for tomorrow night. I got a few ideas for topics too, so don't worry. We'll think of something fun. All right, you have just attained true gnosis.
You have just attained true gnosis. The demiurge has no power over you.
I just saw that you dropped. I was just about to close this off, and I saw this. Thank you, Christy, for the 5. I'm actually working on something with that, so I'm glad that you brought that up. That's not going to be neglected for much longer. I wanted to do a video comparing my thoughts on the book with the show, with the new House of Dragon, because they went into a total different direction with that show. It's not even close to what the books are doing anymore. Completely on a whole another timeline. I mean, there's no Aegon the Third. There's no
Viserys the second, like the Battle of the Gullet made no sense because why did they make a big deal out of going there when the two sons weren't there? Aegon the Third and Viserys the Second weren't even there. So in the books, that's the reason why Jace is riding so low and he gets killed, because he's looking for his brothers. In the show, well, they actually have another reason why he gets too low, because the fake Nettles messes him up. It's a weird thing. It's different. Everything's different. There's going to be some butterfly effects from it. Anyways, thank you for dropping $5. Thanks for dropping $5. I appreciate that. Back to my outro again.
You have just attained true gnosis. The demiurge has no power over